What's going on, you guys? My name is Shiraz Ahmed, and in today's video we're going to be talking about my top 5 tips for Canadians that want to buy a property in the United States. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back, you guys. Today we're going to be talking about buying a property in the US as a Canadian citizen. Now, you may be moving to the US for a job opportunity, or you might just be looking for a vacation property or even a rental unit for investment purposes. But remember, every situation is unique. So the tips I'm about to give you are not meant to replace advice given to you by a realtor, a financial professional, or even an accountant. My obligatory disclaimer as a licensed professional is, when in doubt, seek out counsel from an appropriate professional, whether that be for tax, immigration, or financial purposes. Okay, so that said, there are actually quite a few differences between buying a property in the US versus buying one here in Canada. So my first tip is actually a big difference between the mortgage process in Canada versus the US. So in the United States, you're looking at a few key differences. First off is actually the timeline it takes to actually get a mortgage. You're looking between 30 to 45 days versus in Canada, it's actually a much shorter timeline. In some cases, we've seen 48-hour turnarounds to upwards of a week for an approval for a mortgage. The second major difference is actually the fees and down payments that are required. A 20% down payment is actually usually the minimum in the United States. The third major difference is mortgage products in the US typically last a lot longer. So you can actually lock in a rate and even the terms for up to 30 years, which is completely unheard of here in Canada. I think our maximum is about 5 years. So I'd actually look at that as potentially a hidden benefit. So my second tip is to actually look at avoiding that process entirely by getting a mortgage in Canada for your US property. Some of the big banks like Bank of Montreal and RBC have recently started offering this as a service, and I can actually see that becoming more common. The main benefit here is that you actually get to use your Canadian credit history for qualification purposes, which will likely put you in better position at negotiating terms for your mortgage. So my third tip is actually around inheritance and probate laws. Now, I know it's morbid to talk about this stuff, but it's really important to have a plan around your assets. And when you pass away, this could actually mean a lengthy wait while your assets are frozen and potentially a large legal bill from the settlement of your US property, which is going to be subject to US laws and likely estate taxes. So this is going to be a plug. If you haven't already done so, make sure you get a plan done. So my fourth tip is to be aware of the fees. Now, in the United States, both buyers and sellers split the costs associated with the purchase. So as a buyer, this means you should be ready to spend to the tune of 2.5% of the purchase price to cover things like legal fees, title search, and insurance. Now, if you're the seller, budget for something closer to 7.5% to 8%, as you'll likely also need to pay the realtor fees. Now, my fifth and final tip is to count your days. Now, as a Canadian citizen, you can actually only spend a certain amount of time, which is actually up to 183 days per year in the US before you become a tax resident. Now, you can actually fall into this category even if you spend less time than that in the US based off of what they call the substantial presence test. So make sure you're aware of the immigration and tax laws of your destination state before you make your final decision. So again, this is why it's so important to seek out professional counsel. I can't stress it enough because you could walk into an unknown landmine just by not having done your homework appropriately. So this is where getting the guidance could potentially save you a big headache down the road. So as you can see, there's actually a lot to think about when considering to purchase a property in the US. There's a lot more than just liking a listing or a property. So use these tips as kind of a starting point to help you start doing your homework before you make any final decisions. If you appreciate the content that I've been creating, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button, as it really does help me out. I'll also put my contact info at the end of this video, so if there are other topics that you want me to cover, please drop me a line and I'll happily cover them in a future video. If you hit the bell icon, you'll also be notified the next time I upload a piece of content. So until next time, please stay safe out there, you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.